Hey everybody, welcome back to the Unsung Podcast. Today I have a very special guest with me. His name is JR Bjornson. He is a blind comedian, really funny. I've checked out his stuff on TikTok, and we have a very similar situations with one of our events. Then I said I got to reach out with this guy and have him on, have a chat. So JR, welcome to my little show here.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's really good to be here. I'm grateful we finally found some time. For a while there was like Coyote versus Roadrunner. I'm always busy doing things, and then finally we had some time. And then when we didn't have time, your internet was acting up, and then when we did have time, I forgot I had another appointment.
Hey,
So
it's all good.
it's
Here
good
we
to be
are.
here at long last.
So I'm gonna just jump right in here with this one video that you posted. It reminded me and my daughter, we wrote a children's book together, just about my journey from losing over 150 pounds to doing a 5K together. And we did a book reading. My first one, I was so nervous at the library, and four people showed up. And but we didn't quit. She's like, you know what? She said to me, there's four people here that took the time out of their day to come hear our book. Let's just go through it. And tell me about your show that was scheduled during a Edmonton Oilers playoff game.
That's right. So it was Monday, either last week or the week before. I want to say last week, and it was the first ever headline show that I was invited to do at the Kingsway Legion here in Edmonton. Not here, I'm in Red Deer, but in Edmonton. And I remember I was so nervous. And then I've been doing performing stand up comedy for 8 years. And I've just recently started taking it more seriously. On year five, I started trying to make money, make it into a career because I love it. It's good bringing people joy. It's fun telling my story, and I it was on a Monday, and I remember the Edmonton Oilers. I think we're on game. I think it was game five, and well, jokes on them. They ended up losing. I think 6-2 or something like that. And when I showed up to do the headline spot, there was me, another comedian named Bob Beto, and I think his name is David Senchuk. Anyway, Dave is the one who put the comedy show on, and he's the one who said, "Come on out. I'll give you some money. You can do 40 minutes on stage. The audience is going to be great." And then I said, "Great." And as a joke, I said, "I'll bring the audience. I'm well known. I make it sound like I'm this big shot with 46,700 followers on TikTok." Anyway, get to Edmonton, and what do you know? Only two people showed up. The first one being my wife, who drives me to all my gigs. She's actually the one who is my techie person. She sets up the speakers behind me. For those of you who can't see, I have two glorious speakers from the 1980s. I have wireless microphones, and my wife helps me set up all that equipment at the shows. And my other friend showed up from high school, Brianna Hunter, my best friend's sister. My best friend still lives in Grand Prairie. He hasn't got out of Grand Prairie yet because once you're in Grand Prairie, Alberta, you can't get out. It's too expensive to leave. So I often make fun of him. You got to leave at some point. He's like, "No, I got a family here. I got to stay." So only two people showed up: my wife and my best friend's sister. Brianna happened to live in Edmonton. Dave, the comedian, was there. Bob Beto, the comedian, was there. And the people at the Legion were there, but that was only a total of an audience of like 2 to 5 people. And I remember before going on stage, listening to Bob pushing through the awkward silence of just me and Brianna, my wife, Dave laughing at his jokes. And I was sitting there thinking like, wow, I'm actually getting kind of sweaty here. I'm used to performing open mics. For the audience who doesn't know, when comedians do open mics, that's where we practice our best material, how we get good at our jokes. But at open mics, you have come to accept that the only people that are going to be at the open mic is your other comedians,
Mm.
your comedian family, because no one really, at least in Red Deer, from my experience, no one comes to an open mic to watch comedy. People come to eat the food, and they happen to realize there is an open mic because once we start setting up the stage, people, finish their food real fast and get going because they don't know what they're getting themselves into. And I just thought, you know what? I'll try to treat this like an open mic and just pretend I'm back at 50 North Pub and Eatery, which is where a lot of the Red Deer comedians practice 7474 Gates Ave inside the Super 8 Motel. And well, it was my turn to go up on stage, and I really thought, well, this is going to be a big fail. Why? Well, yeah, I got to do it though. And so I got up there, and they gave me a microphone, and it was beautiful. I think it was a wireless mic. I don't know. I can't remember. But I took the mic, I started talking into it, and then I realized, you know what? I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, talking into a mic. I've been doing this for 8 years. Two people showed up, and this is still going to be fun because what got me through was Brianna has only heard 5 minutes of my jokes or 10 minutes of my jokes. She's never heard the full 45-minute experience. So then I started just making the show really about her, about all the times, growing up with her family. Her family treated me like a second son that they never had. So I was always hanging out with her brother, Blaine. And I said, hey, remember the time me and Blaine came home once? We both were terribly stoned. Did you remember that? And then I started, just making the show about me and her relationship over time, but still doing my comedy at the same time. And I remember I often write my jokes all in Braille. Let's see if I have any with me right here. I make all my jokes in Braille. I don't know if this will come through on the camera, but so my jokes look like this. So it's dots, right?
Oh yeah,
so
I can see it.
Oh, beautiful. So well, you can, I can't, but I'll believe you. So I feel the dots, and then I read them. And I remember I brailled about 5 pages of material. I've done 40 minutes before, but I've never done 40 minutes with a beautiful paycheck before. So I wanted to make sure I had everything right. And I did like 5 pages, 4 pages, but I was on page number 3. And all of a sudden, I time myself when I'm on stage because in Calgary, they have an annual competition every year called Funny Fest. And I was in the top 10 finalists this year. And I came in, I think, 5th place. And I think I would have won if I didn't go over time. I was given 5 minutes, and I went 6 minutes, 58 seconds.
Oh boy.
Some people say 7 minutes. I say 6 minutes, 58 seconds. And now I have a timer in my pocket that vibrates when it's time to get off stage. And that helps a lot. So I'm on page number 3, and it vibrated. I was like, no, guys, has it been 40 minutes? And the promoter, yeah, but keep going. No one's here. It's just your 2 audience members. And I decided to be professional and end it all because I don't want to keep going voluntarily. I like having a system in place. I like having rules in place so I don't get too confident or too brash. And the show was really, really fun. But most of all, I still got paid. I was so worried that the show was going to be canceled and I would just go home. But the promoter did a great job honoring the deal. And the deal is you hire a comedian, and even if no one shows up, you still have to pay the comedian, or else the comedian will go on social media, share their experience with other promoters, and then those other promoters and other comedians will share their experience with everybody else. And then eventually, if word gets out, you don't pay your talent, no one's going to come work for you or your venue. So it was a good time. I appreciated Dave. He gave me my paycheck and I had fun. And then I went to go hang out with Brianna at the brew house. So it was good. It was a great time. And we're actually back in Edmonton. I don't know when this podcast goes up. I think you said a Friday from now. So it might not go up, but you would have been able to catch me at the Western Plus South location in Edmonton on the 22nd of June. And I'm sure it would have been a great time.
Well, hey, you know what? I'll put up a little trailer, like a little 30-second clip from our show, and I'll tag you in it the day before that show.
So
kind of like a little teaser before I launch our episode.
Hey, perfect.
We'll see if we can get some people out there. I know a lot of people in Edmonton. I have a lot of military connections there from a charity I run. So
the best part about that lesson, about just doing it for 2 people on stage, was I was able to realize that I'm in the right place at the right time. If I truly didn't enjoy stand-up comedy, I would have been so upset and hurt that I probably would have never had a fun time. But because I love stand-up comedy, because I was so, give me a microphone and I can go for an hour and a half. It was like I fell in love with comedy because no one really showed up for my headline spot. but I was still able to tell my stories, tell my jokes. My biggest fear was I would blank out and I wouldn't even have a fun time. But that experience taught me that I'm in the right place at age 34. I am where I need to be. And I'm just going to keep having more fun because a lot of people ask, why do you do stand up? It's not really a job that pays the bills. And I said, it's because I can't see smiles. I don't know what it looks like when someone is happy. But with comedy, when I make them laugh, when I talk about my story, like I tell this story about this one time I was in Grand Prairie and my friend ran in to grab something and I waited outside and this lady in a long trench coat was walking around this corner. I started walking with her like, hey, what you doing? And she's like, oh, I get paid for certain movements. And I'm like, oh, cool. You get paid for walking. Now, I'm very oblivious because of my blindness. And I
Mm.
never played Grand Theft Auto or those games where you, steal things and do promiscuous things because I couldn't see the TV very well. So I couldn't really do games very well. So I didn't get who I was talking to until my friend comes out of the store and says, JR, leave that prostitute alone. Let's go. And I said bye, and it was fun, but it was awkward because I thought I was just talking to someone who was getting paid for walking because I'm so innocent, right? And so it was awkward after. I'm like, what do you mean she's a prostitute? She's been walking that corner, and you just started walking with her.
No, you know what? That's a blind date you don't want to end up on.
Yeah. So after that day, I've really learned to really analyze every scenario I'm in. Because when I was in college, one of the other jokes I tell on stage, because everything I tell you on stage is real. It's comes from a place of truth. I never ever exaggerate my stories on stage because I feel like I can bring a new perspective to a world that's used to visuals. I get to bring the non-visual descriptives. I get to tell you what it's like to go through life, like my friends in college, like, wow, look at her. She's so hot. She's so, wow, I would totally get in on that. I'm over here myself being like, yeah, it smells like she uses Bounce and Purex, you know, because I can't relate. I can't say, well, yeah, look at those bazonkas. No, those non-existent in my world. So basically, I get to show you how awkward it is to be blind, and I get to do that on stage. And a lot of people leave with a new perspective. I'm not saying, oh, look how disabled I am. No, I'm more like saying, here's what it's like being blind, and here's what you can expect. And no, it's fun.
Well, that's unreal. We were talking before we came on here about my new friend Zach. We connected as well, but this guy is 100% blind as well, but he competes in jujitsu
Oh, wow.
against people that have no disability. So they place one hand on his shoulder and then they go from the movements there. Like they can't obviously come around the back and like clock him in the head. But it just blows my mind. And I'd watching some of your clips, and I would love to see you live. If you ever get down to Calgary, I'm only an hour away from there, so I would make that trip. And
For sure. I know if you ever want to see where I'm performing, I always put up shows 2 weeks to 3 weeks in advance. Blindguycomedy.com is my official website. And there's a blogs tab. You click the blogs tab and you'll be able to see where I'm going to be next because I usually blog whatever I'm up to. And I haven't blogged about the show in Edmonton because that's I'm going to be someone's 5-10 minutes. I'm not going to be headlining.
mhm.
But usually, if I'm headlining, I'll put the shows up. Or if it's really going out of my way to get there, I'll put the show up. Like I just did a show in Calgary 3 weeks ago called Mikey's Juke Joint, and again, there was like only 5 people that showed up, but I wasn't the headliner. Thank goodness, it was a guy named Joe King, and I still had a fun time.
His name was Joe King, and he's a comedian.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't I
uh,
don't think
uh,
that's his real name, but
but that's a joke in itself. Like, who are you? Well, I'm joking.
I'm
Right?
joking. Yeah, exactly.
For me, comedy has always been one of my mental health go-tos. Like, I used to have a pass for the Laugh Shop in Calgary where you could go to a show once a month. It was like $60 for the whole year. But you got to go to one show, like not a headliner, not like, Norm Macdonald or anything, but just like local comedians. And I loved it, man. I loved live comedy. My favorite comedian, and I'm obviously going to ask you who yours biggest influence is, but mine would be Mitch Hedberg. And I snuck into Howie Mandel when I was like 12 years old because it was an 18 plus show.
Yeah.
He was playing a big stadium in New St. John's, Newfoundland, 5,000 people. But me and my friend, we snuck in, and it was, oh, we told everybody about it the next day because there was no social media then because I'm old as dirt. My daughter says I'm so old, I owe Jesus 5 shekels. But how has comedy helped your mental health, and who's your favorite comedian, the biggest influence for you?
Well, when I was first getting to know my girlfriend at the time, for my 18th birthday, she gave me a CD from by a comedian named Dane Cook from America.
Uh,
And Dane Cook at the time, I found him hilarious, but the only thing that was jarring about him at the time was he was in his yelling era, where to be really funny, he would yell into the mic. And it was his scenarios that killed me that I really got laughing. Like, he's like, why do we flip people off with the middle finger? What if whenever we're mad at somebody, we just give them our back? We like lift up our shirt and show our bare back and we say, suck my back, instead of, giving a middle finger. So when he's not yelling, his scenarios, that those are the ones that got me. But as a person who has my eyes are basically my ears, when someone yells, that's definitely off-putting to me, and I'll probably leave the area or put on. Or I just learned about these things called ear protection. These ear protect. You put them in your ear and they expand. What are they called? Earplugs.
mhm.
So now I go to concerts for the first time in my life with earplugs, and it's made the experience much better. So it was Dane Cook in the beginning, and then I started getting into comedy more in 2014. Not a performer yet, didn't have the guts to go to an open mic, but I found Dimitri Martins. And Dimitri Martins, again, American, he uses dry humor. He's got wit, but he's also very smart. And I know he says in many times that his jokes aren't for blind people, but little does he know, he explains all of them to a point that a blind person can still follow.
Hmm.
Like my favorite joke of his is all time is when him and his friend from high school are working on a roofing job, and his friend says, "I can't take it anymore." Jumps off the roof, and as Dimitri looks down, a trampoline emporium is having a sidewalk sale, and his buddy lands on one of the trampolines, springs back up, and says, "I find your jokes contrived and hard to believe." And moments like that kills me because the joke is not offensive. It's perfect. Nobody gets hurt. And but for Dimitri, he's got edgier humor too in that CD where he says, in life, checkers teaches you that a guy on top of another guy is a king. In our lives, that tells us it's a queen. And it's nice humor like that. But now these days, in the past, I think 6 months, I've been very more obsessive over Zoltan, which is from America. And I love Zoltan because Zoltan is teaching me, I don't know him personally, but through his YouTube specials, he's teaching me that you don't have to be offensive to be a great comedian. A lot of the comedians around me are more dark and edgy. And when you start working with people like that more often, your personality tends to change, like, oh, maybe dark and edgy is the way to go. But thanks to me watching Zoltan, I think it's called observational humor. And he doesn't have to he doesn't have to drop an F-bomb every, 5 seconds. He doesn't have to make anyone feel bad or anything like that. So he can just be funny by sharing stories of his life and his observations. And not once do I hear him ever make fun of an audience member. And that's my goal with my comedy is if you're coming to see me, you will not be made fun of. You will not be put on the spot. If you sit in the front row, I'm just going to be happy you're there. I'm not going to draw any attention to you. Because when I go to comedy, if the comedian starts making fun of their audience and starts roasting their audience, if the audience member wants it, good for them. But if I'm there and I'm being roasted, I'm like, hey, I just spent $25 to see you, and now you're making fun of me? This makes no sense. So I have accepted with great pride and honor that I am a clean comedian. My friend Bradley Layden calls me the dirtiest clean comedian out there because I will explain a dirty joke without making you feel awkward, Like the dirtiest joke I have right now, and you'll love it, is that comedy is not exactly going really well for me. In the past 8 years, I've only made $2,400. Actually, since 2 weeks ago, I've made $2,550. And I'm thinking of exploring other alternative ways of income. And I heard about this website called OnlyFans, where people do adult esque things to make a lot of money. So I said, hey, to my wife, I said, let's shoot some adult films. But so the audience knows what it's like to be me, we'll just leave the lens cap on. And
Oh, I
that's
love it.
that's the extent of my dirty joke, you know. So I've learned with jokes like that, you don't have to be excuse me. There we
It's
go.
okay.
With dirty jokes like that, you don't have to really be. You don't have to be offensive. You don't. You can figure out a way where it's friendly for all ages, and you don't have to feel bad about who's who's there. You don't have to really feel bad about, oh my goodness, there's a kid at my show. I've seen comedians in person back when we used to do shows at the Heritage Lanes bowling alley in Red Deer. And I used to see comedians freak out. They have a baby here. Who brings a baby? I'm going to have to change my material. I'm over here like, dude, it's just a baby. No, no, the mom will kill me if I say something wrong. And so, it's like one of those things where I want to be the comedian that's like, oh, they got a baby here. This show is getting better and better, because I don't ever want to have to worry about offending a minority or offending a mom or offending someone who's transgender. I don't want to be offensive. I just want to be lovable, but I still, at the end of the day, want to be me. And the best part about being raised in a house where if you even considered saying the F bomb, your mouth would be washed out with a square green of shampoo called Irish Spring hand soap. And that was my household. If we even shown any discomfort and we talk back, soap in the mouth, or a classic strap on the hand. Like, I was raised old school, and
Hmm.
because of that way of raising, it's really hard to go over my programming. Like, a lot of people I hear when they turn 18, they really just, if you're raised in a well managed house that's too managed, you explode after you become an adult. Fortunately, I've not exploded becoming that adult. And it's because I've really looked into what my mom had to deal with. My mother is a proud Indigenous woman from the northernmost community here in Alberta called Fox Lake, Alberta, through the Little Red Cree Nation band. And my mother had to witness her father going through the residential schools. So my mom lived with a lot of pain. My father would come home no longer speaking his language, telling the stories of all the terrible treatment he went through. And then my mom had to carry that pain. And then growing up, the reason why my house was so sheltered with my mom was because she was Indigenous, living in the big cities of Alberta. She would always have this fear that people would call child family services on her and take me away. So we always lived in a constant kind of like fear state because of being Indigenous. So I used to blame her a lot for, like, why do we do this? Why are we always on our greatest behavior? And then once I was old enough, 22 years old, I started doing my own research and figuring out what my mom went through, and I had a better understanding of why she was the way that she was. So I didn't have malice for her as much anymore, because when you learn about that stuff and you learn about your family history, you can kind of give your parent an out. But because of that, I do my best to be a clean comic, because there's still that little fear installed in me that if I do something wrong, my kids, I have 5 kids of my own with my wife, and if I do something wrong, my kids will be taken away from me. So it kind of forces me to be on my best behavior all the time, not just on TikTok, not just out there on the stage, but out and about.
You mentioned, your shows are clean. You just tell stories. One of my favorite, I've seen over easily 500 comedy shows. I used to go so much, but one of my favorite shows was Mick Foley from WWF, WWE, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
He did a tour where he just told funny wrestling stories, and I could have literally listened to that dude for 5 hours. And it was so different, but it was just real, right? He's just telling these real stories about backstage stuff and injuries and funny interactions, and he's a really funny guy. But the thing that stuck out with me the most, I was there with my friend Dan, who I've had on my show. He's got cerebral palsy, and he's in a wheelchair his entire life. And to go meet Mick Foley, which you could do after you had to go up 3 stairs, up another ramp, and then down 3 stairs. And he wasn't able to do it because the place wasn't wheelchair accessible at the time. So he sent his agent or someone over and said, just stick around the show. And he came down to our table and just sat with my friend Dan for about half an hour and just had a chat with him after everybody else was done. And he'll never forget that, right? Just someone taking a moment like that that was just real. And yeah, it's something I'll never forget. That was like 12 years ago, and it's still in my mind like it's yesterday.
And it's awesome. And I remember I took my family to a tent circus show in the Parkland Mall parking lot here in Red Deer, where I currently reside in. And this clown was going all around the audience, giving high fives to the kids, to the adults. I'm over here panicking, like, oh, he's gonna come for me, isn't he? And how will I know? Do I just keep my hand up like this? I don't want to look weird. What if he denies my high five? I only know this because my wife, she is my describe video. She tells me everything when we're in stores or what's going on. She'll talk into my ear. Oh, this is happening now, or this is going on. And I love her so much for it. And all of a sudden she says, oh, the kids are getting the high fives. Oh, now he's giving the high fives to the parents. Oh, he's coming our way, JR. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I quickly put my cane, my white cane up. I use a white, the common white cane people use when they're blind. It's a black on top, white in the middle, red at the bottom with a little mushroom tip. You often see blind people go tap, tap, tap. I use one of those too. And I quickly put my cane up where he can see that I'm blind. And then all of a sudden he grabs my hand and then gives me a high five and then moves on. And it's like little things like that that really make an impact on your life. And I tell people, for the longest time, I never considered myself disabled. I never considered myself part of the disability community because my vision doesn't work very well, but that's it. I'm pretty normal everywhere else. I'm not disabled. Skip forward to this past January. I got diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD for short. And I started taking medication to treat my ADHD. And for the first time, instead of having like 100 to 200 thoughts going on every second in my head, everything got real quiet. And I was able to see myself for the first time. And all of a sudden, I realized, you know what makes me disabled? Whenever I need to get out, whenever I take the bus and I have to find the little change thing to put the money into to take the bus, the average person looks down and sees it. And they can just go, they can just put their money in. I'm over here like, oh my goodness, where is it? Oh, I'm going to take up the whole time. People are waiting behind me. And then the medication was able to help me step back from my personal character, the person I've really brought myself to believe who I am. And for the first time, I found out, holy smokes, I am disabled. I do need help. I had a job at Canada Post. It only lasted 2 weeks, and even Canada Post couldn't help me because we couldn't find a system where I could count the mail confidently. And it was only a 2-week contract, so they didn't keep me, unfortunately. But thanks to my ADHD medication, I was able to see that, you know what, maybe I am a bit on the disabled side. I didn't count myself disabled because all my friends that are disabled are on the Alberta Assured Income, also known as AISH. Mm-hmm. And I can't get on AISH. They won't let me get on AISH. So I always use that as the ultimate, I'm not disabled because I can't get on AISH. And with ADHD medication, I realized, you know what, I am disabled. But now that I can see that, I haven't reapplied for AISH because I bet you now I would qualify, especially with those two diagnoses. And the reason why I'm not applying to it is because I have friends who are on it, and they monitor your spending. They make sure that if you're with a spouse and your spouse is working, if your spouse makes over $2,000 a month, they start deducting your $1,900 a month. So they really keep you in this circle that you can't get out. It's like that experiment where they drew a circle with permanent marker around the ant, and then the ant refused to go over the circle. He thought, it's a wall, I can't get over it, until the guy pushes the ant over the circle and then draws another circle. And now the ant's like, wait, that was in my head, and goes over the second circle. I don't want to be put into a circle of spending where I can be told what I can and cannot spend money on, or I have to report all the time. But I used to be the victim in all my stories a long time ago. I used to be like, look at me. I can't see anything, therefore I can't do anything. What's the point? And then when I started taking my medication, I became the hero of all my stories. I started thinking like, well, you know what? Look how far I've come. I have 5 kids, a boxer dog, a cat. I have a family. We have our own home, which is nice. It's good to live in your own home that's not connected to any walls. You don't have to share with your neighbor. And I've made it. I've done everything I humanly can, and I've actually made it. Yeah, I'm not making a lot of money from my career, but that's going to happen eventually. We're going to get there. I really learned, thanks to my medication, that life is what you make it. You know, there's this rapper I listen to named NF. I think his real name is Nate. And in one of his songs called The Search, he says, if you wake up and tell yourself you're not going to be great, of course you're not going to be great. The mind is a powerful thing, and what you put in it comes out extremely, you really believe it. So I started doing things like high-fiving myself in the mirror. Sure, I can't utilize the mirror, but I pretend there's somebody there. And I
Mm.
say, you know what? Today was another great day, and tomorrow it's going to be even better. And thanks to my medication, thanks to treating what needs to be treated, I feel like I'm living my best life. And since I've been telling myself that people love me, people care about me, I care about people, I'm always open to opportunities. I'll do the odd fundraiser for comedy. I'm in a very good place. I don't know if you can see it behind me, but behind me there is two awesome speakers, and
Sure. They look like sharp
beside
speakers.
those two speakers, there is a switchboard where you plug in your microphones and audio in, audio out. Soundboard, that's what it's called.
Hmm.
Today, somebody dropped that off and said, here, use these at your comedy shows. Because I've been depending on local club speakers and just using the equipment the venues have. And this person was like, you're going places, and I want to give you my stuff because I'm done with it, but you're going places. And then the other day, I just thought to myself, oh, it'd be great if I could get my hands on some speakers. Then we can take blindguycomedy.com to the next level. We can actually travel. Oh, but that's going to cost me like $4,000. You know what? We're going to get those speakers, and we're going to figure out a way to get those speakers. And I just kept telling myself, we're going to get our own speakers. And then a little ding on my Facebook Messenger, and someone's like, hey, I got these speakers. I'm not going to use them anymore. I'm done with this part of my life. You want them? I'll give you the two speakers, the board, and you get two wireless microphones. I'm like, you're joking. No,
Wow.
no, it's yours. I really, and he's like, I really believe in you, and you've been nothing but awesome. And so I learned from that is I've always been kind to this gentleman, and this gentleman has always like believed in me more than I sometimes believe in myself. I remember his name, we used to call him Viddy, but now he goes by Steve. And Steve, I was there back in 2017. I went to go do a comedy stand up show for the first time in my life. It was a talent show. And when I found out it was a talent show, I told Steve, take my name off the list. I am not good enough. I've never done this before. And then Steve's like, you're already here. Why would you leave? You're here. Go do the show. If you don't do great, you still did the show. So I went to go do the show, and then I won the show. So that's where comedy became, where it was done, was through Steve. Steve made me do the one show that I really wanted to not do because I didn't feel like good enough for it. And he's like, no, you're here. You made the trip. And then I ended up winning. And then I told Steve, if Netflix ever calls, I'm giving you 10% of my check, because Steve has made a lot of this possible.
That's amazing. That's something people just being kind can have the
Mm-hmm.
longest impact on people's lives. The first time I went into a boxing gym, I was terrified. Okay, I used to be almost 400 pounds and then I lost 100. So I was still 298, but I was still going into this gym terrified. And there's a guy in the ring. He's got 5 titles. He's a gold glove boxer. He walks over to me and he has to tell me with the owner, and the owner said this is his first day. He's wants to try and improve his life. He said, I believe in you, champ. Okay, he called me a champ. And just being so self-conscious, about how I look for so long, him calling me a champ has made the biggest impact on my life. If I'm at a gym and I see someone bigger that was me 4 or 5 years ago, I just go up and call them champ. And just knowing that when people say nasty shit, sure, it can stay with you a long time. But when people say nice, people say nice things, that's what you remember the most. And just hearing that story, how that guy helped you out. And once my podcasts get a lot of download in Singapore for some reason. So I don't know if you're ready to be the next David Hasselhoff of Singapore. You never know what can happen.
It's that's such an amazing story, because I remember I was going to the gym for a little bit, because for some reason, when you go to the gym, even just to walk on the treadmill, I personally love the treadmill and the elliptical. They're my favorite workout equipment because me lift weights, no, not ready for that. Maybe I'll be ready one day, but I'm not ready for the pythons to be sore. So I like anything cardio. And I remember this one time I went to the gym and all of a sudden I'm getting on the treadmill and I weighed like 265 at the time. I'm happy to say I'm down to 237 now. And this lady came up to me. I don't know I don't know her name, but this person, right? This female came up to me. I don't know who she is, and all of a sudden she says, "You're gonna do great. Go kick some, go get it." And I'm like, and all I can think of is in my head, I don't even know who you are. But then she was so happy to give me the encouragement. All I could think of saying is like, thanks. I'm just here for mental health. Like I was just very honest. I'm very transparent.
No,
And I told my wife about it. My wife said, don't overthink it. She's probably experiencing the same thing you experience when you're leaving the gym. And I'm like, yeah,
mm,
you know what? That's probably what just happened. And I think if people can remember to be kind and courteous to one another, it really makes a big difference. I was listening to this thing the other day on TikTok of all things, and this one of the I can't remember her name, but she's a music artist from Toronto, and she does funny little skits. But she said, "My life gratefully improved when she used to be afraid to go out and go, shopping because she's like, oh, everyone's going to be grumpy or people aren't going to, I'm going to be awkward. She always overthought. And then one day she realized, hey, what if I become the good experience? Instead
mm.
of hoping the world is a good experience, what if I become the good experience? So she started saying compliments to everybody and just trying to be a little bit more positive. And then she realized people would start treating her with positive comments back, and people wanted to be with her and hang out with her. And it was all because she was just trying to push kindness out. And I realized, I'm kind of like that too. Whenever I go to Sobeys, I'm kind of worried I'm going to get the grumpy cashier. I'm kind of worried I'm going to get the manager who says she's going to give me a job, and it's been 2 years now. But and now I'm just more like, when I go to Sobeys, I'm there to try to make them smile. I'm there to say, oh man, this economy, guys, I might have to start going to Walmart. It's very expensive here. And, just, and now I have befriended almost everybody at the Sobeys location where I frequent here in Red Deer. And it's amazing. People want to say hi to you. People want to stop you from shopping to say, hey, here's my day. What about you? And I like the idea of being the good experience because it takes a lot of stress off when you're worried about people coming in hard on you. Because
Mhm.
again, that's what you're believing. That's the stuff you're putting in your brain. If you believe people are going to come at you with negativity, that's all you're going to see, kind of like,
It's funny because I was a borderline alcoholic for almost 25 years. I used to drink a lot and I do a lot of karaoke and I'd be up on stage, wasted of mind, just doing stupid stuff, making people laugh. And so up until about 6 months ago, I picked up a guitar again and started singing and playing. And my amazing girlfriend, who I met through a review on a book I wrote, she was like, "You should put a video up online singing on TikTok." I'm like, "No." Like the trolls on there, some of the trolls I've gotten since I started this podcast, I laugh at them now.
mm-hmm.
But trolls used to give me anxiety. And so I put up my first video and it went pretty well. There was a couple comments I had to hide, but about 6 weeks ago, they have this music concert at her church. And she's like, "Oh, you should, they want you to sing. Get up and do one song." And I'm like, "Sober?" Because I got a church, right? So I'll be sober 3 years on August 20th.
Hey,
And
congratulations.
the craziest thing, so I go to this church concert and I get up and play guitar and sing for the first time sober in 25 years in front of people. I'm gonna tell you, my leg was shaking like I was doing a newfie jig. And I felt like I was gonna pass out. But then at the end, the applause, I got a little emotional and I went back to my seat. And then my girlfriend says, "You should post this video on TikTok." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." But I did, and it had 26,000 views and
Wow. Yeah.
not one troll. It was some kind of internet miracle, man. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But my question I wanted to ask you, I mean, with your impairment, do you have something that reads you out TikTok comments? Or because that in my mind would be terrifying, some of the stuff that's on TikTok.
Yeah. So on my phone, I use a screen reader called VoiceOver. And whenever I go to a TikTok video, VoiceOver will read me the stuff. So let me see if I have any comments that I remember reading out already, because every time I touch my screen, my phone reads everything out loud.
Hmm.
So let's go to the video I made recently about the glasses. And my biggest fan and close friend on this app, her name is Anna. She resides in Cape Breton, Newfoundland. And Anna is has become a good friend of mine because we're both very positive people. Except I really enjoy her company because she's 42, but her energy is like 25 years old. I'm
Wow.
over here. I'm 34. My energy is like 62 years old. And maybe it's because I have 5 kids. They'll do that to you.
Yep.
So I'm going to turn down the speaking rate,
Voices, headings,
and
screen
so
recognition,
you can
speaking rate,
understand it.
45, 40%.
We'll go to 40%. So here's what it sounds like. So here's what the comment kind of looks like. I don't know. But here, I'll put it up to the mic. We're both using glorious mics, and here's what it sounds like.
Anna Flag of Canada. First comment, Monday, June 16th, 2025. Friends.
And then that's her username. So her comment should be read out next.
You deserve it. Best wishes to you always.
So what she's saying to you deserve it is I'm currently fundraising for life-changing glasses called the eSight Go glasses. And the company Next Tech or Next Gen, can't remember, they're based in America, and they sell these glasses for 4,900 United States dollars, which, me and you are both in Canada. Do the conversion rate, that brings it up to $6,400. And then with border fees and tariff fees, it's going to come up to about 8,200. And what I have done is I've launched a GoFundMe to get these glasses because I had the opportunity to try these glasses last week. And that's the video she commented on. I did a little unboxing to show people how the glasses have made a big difference on my life, because the company sent me a demo pair to check out to see if I was a fit. And sure enough, I was a fit.
Wow.
And I got 80% of my vision back while wearing the glasses. And I did all types of cool things like first thing we did, me and my wife, every second or third day, we go for a Tim Hortons date. We love our Tim Hortons because when me and my wife are together, we take a break from the children. And it's like we get to fall in love again, because when we met, we had no kids. So we get to see each other. I wore these glasses to Tim Hortons, and for the first time in my life, I was able to read the digital menus over the tills. And I used to make fun of fellow millennials, like, what do you mean you guys get overloaded with choices? That's a lie. I would never get overloaded with choices. And then all of a sudden I'm reading these menus for the first time, going slow, because I can read super large print, right? But to actually zoom in on small print, I've never been able to do that. So I'm reading these menus, and every 7 seconds they switch over to more choices. So I'm over here like, I'm not done with the breakfast menu. Can we go back? so so then we go, it eventually flicks back. And the cool thing about these glasses, you can't take pictures due to privacy reasons, which is a great feature. What you can do is you can freeze your live image. So when the menus came back, I quickly froze the image. And then with the glasses, you can zoom in on the image you just froze. And I was able
Wow.
to look at the menu. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try a sausage farmer's wrap. That sounds really good. And so we go to the till, and my wife is loving my experience because she's watching me smile. She's hearing me tell her all these things I'm noticing. And then we're talking to the cashier, and I whisper to my wife, "Hey, she's smiling. Why is she smiling, taking our order? I don't know if I could work in the food service industry." And then my wife tells me, well, actually, she has to smile because she's working with the public, and people are more likely to hang out with her if she's smiling. It's kind of forced upon us in our society. So I got to learn all these cool tidbits that I never even thought of. I smile naturally, not thinking about it. But to see someone else smile, that was brand new to me. And then I kind of scared her a little bit. I was like, wow, I wish I had a Tim Hortons brimmed hat because I was able to zoom in on her hat, the little hat with the bill and it says Tim Hortons on it. I was able to zoom in on that. And then the manager, I don't know if he's a manager, but he's one of the bosses that stays there a lot. And he's like, you can see her? Yeah. And then he said, that company should be paying you for those glasses.
Mm.
And everybody was amazed. All the staff members came to look at me. They're like, so you're looking at us for the first time? And I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, we're not as tall, hey? I'm like, yeah, it's all right. It's all right. And I'm learning to be careful what I say when I had these classes because I went to a comedy show and we have a lovely comedian. Her name's Bianca. And Bianca is a lesbian. So her comedy is all about what it's like being a lesbian, checking out other women and all that cool stuff. I remember the first time I saw Bianca on stage and she came off stage and I without even thinking that I was being unintentionally rude, I said, whoa, that's what a lesbian looks like? You have short hair. And he's like, yeah, she says, yeah, JR, all of us lesbians, some of us have short hair. It's kind of the look. It was nuts. It was unbelievable. And then I got to see my daughter for the first time
Oh
clear.
man.
And that I nearly cried. She has long
Oh.
hair. I told her, I'm like, because she's 6 years old. And I said, you look like your mother. And obviously it's because, my wife, but I was like, you look like mom. And then she says, yeah. And I also look like a tiny bit of you. And that was nice.
Oh man.
And I was able to watch TV with the family. And then my wife's like, not my wife, my son's like, you want to play Super Mario? So I got to experience the Mario life a little bit. And it was beautiful. And I'm fundraising for the glasses, and the fundraiser has been going on since Sunday night at 9 p.m. We're recording this on a Thursday, and we have just reached $1,170 out of 8,200. Now, a lot of people might think, oh, that's not that much, but this is where we got to get into the habit of trying to look at it from a more positive point of view. I am at 13% of my goal. You know what that means? We have 87% left to go, and we're going to get there. So that's part of the whole trying to be a positive mindset. But you don't want to fake positivity too much. I just recently read a book about the how economics works and how you can word something so different to make people go with it. This heart procedure, you only have a 95% chance. No, you have a 95% chance of success. Well, if you tell them this heart surgery, there's a 5% chance it's not going to go well, then you're going to panic, right? But if you say 95% chance it's going to be great, you're going to do fine. And I learned about how you can really look at things from a different perspective. And it's beautiful. So I really believe we're going to make it to our goal. If your audience is interested, I will give you a link you can give your audience to in your podcast descriptions or wherever you post this interview.
Yeah, I will. I put these on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And
hey,
I
that's
also
awesome.
did iHeartRadio for some reason was my biggest drawer of traffic for like 2 months straight. Like, I don't know why. I've never really used it, but you never know. The way I look at some of my episodes, we'll get 40 full plays on YouTube with a 60-minute episode in this day and age. To me, that's impressive.
I know. I have
very, very short attention span.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm Mr. Goldfish. The longest I can listen to a YouTube video is 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna put it in my like section and get back to it, listen to it before bed or finish it before I go to bed. And speaking of that, Tuesday Stories with JR Bjornson is my podcast. You can get that wherever you get podcasts, but it's only 20 minutes because of my attention span.
What I find, because I'll post 30-second clips on TikTok. Say, hey, I got this guest coming up. Search this on Friday. Or when I put out a new episode, I'll put up a 30-second clip. And I'll say 22% of people watch the full 10-second clip. I'm like, are they scrolling that fast? Like,
Yeah.
I'd be like, wait, don't scroll. I don't want to start begging because I don't care. But
I know
it's all about impact, right? Like some crazy things have happened from these shows. And I had a guy reach out to me, and he was in my situation. He was 480 pounds. And He has two twin daughters. And one of my podcast episodes, I had my daughter, she turns 11 in 2 weeks. I had her interview me about my story and just, kind of like a watered down version of it without the graphic details.
Yeah.
But he said he watched it, he stumbled upon it, and he bought the children's book that we wrote, and he's signed up to do his first 5K with his two daughters 6 months from now.
Oh,
Right? And
wow.
that was from one view of the show. Me and this guy we're like twins, like going through the same thing. And I told him, man, like you got I'm gonna be up your I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be bugging you about this and to keep you accountable. And I don't know, I just love it. I've loved every episode of this
I think
podcast.
interaction is very hard. So you saw that I was looking at my phone as you were telling me that, because before we came on, I tried to do the classic 15-second TikTok where I'm like, hey, I'm going to be on this person's podcast. What questions do you think they should ask me? And no one put anything except one person. They said, I have been on a podcast, never saw the finished product. And then I didn't ask for that story. I just said, what questions do you think this person should ask me? And they shared a whole different story. And with
Yeah.
TikTok, you never know you don't know what you're going to get. And I have the TikTok Studio app on my phone, which it's their little AI that tells me how to better my content. But no
Hmm.
matter what you do, no matter how much of that artificial intelligence you listen to, it's always going to be something else. Like it tells me, create a good hook for your video, entice people, reach out for comments, tell them to comment. And soon it's not even fun anymore. So now
Yeah.
I just do whatever my heart tells me to do, as long as it's, obviously not offensive, it's relatable. And like, I sang the other day about getting a haircut, and, now my head feels like it's breathing for the first time. And yeah, no, TikTok is a whole different animal. And then YouTube, like we were talking about trolls earlier in the
Oh,
program. And the one thing I disliked about TikTok the longest was TikTok has been the only platform in the world where people have accused me of faking my blindness.
oh boy.
I remember the first few years I was on this app, on TikTok anyway, was so many people like, anyone can roll their eyes in the back of their head. This guy's faking, for like
Oh my
3 months
goodness.
straight. I would get something like, oh, I saw his pupil. He's lying. His character's failing. And then even when I try to be kind and courteous, I used to respond to all of them. I used to say things like, um, it's part of my condition. The eye condition is called Peter's anomaly. And when I'm focused in more mentally, my eyes go back to my head. It's kind of what they do. No, you're not blind because you're responding to this comment. Blind people can't write comments on the internet. Eventually, I just gave up on responding to anyone who was being not nice or mean or angry. I just stopped responding. And then eventually, 3 months, 4 months go by, and they move on to someone else because
Yeah.
you're not giving them the time anymore.
Someone, I can't remember who, one of the guests I had on, she was a former UFC fighter, and she said about trolls don't pay me rent money. Why should I let them live in my head rent free?
Exactly.
And it's the people, they just want a response. I don't respond to them anymore. I just click hide and move on. When I put up my first episode, someone was like, I'd rather listen to a dental office, uh, environment on replay than listen to your horrible Newfie accent.
I didn't even pick up on the accent.
Well, it used to come out when I drank. Like or if I'm in, like I had one of my guests was from Newfoundland,
Yeah.
and I almost had to put subtitles on that episode because my accent came back so bad. But I didn't
Yeah.
care. If people don't like it, they can scroll along to the next one if someone. And
Is that where Jig's dinner comes from?
oh yes it is.
Okay.
Oh
I when I worked in radio, a lot of people sort of know, but not much here. I worked in a classic rock radio station through Vista Radio from 2000. Let's see here, from 2007 to, I think it was like April 3rd, 2007 to December 21st, 2021. Yeah. And no, 2012. Yeah, 2012. Sorry. Sometimes I think I'm dyslexic. So I worked there for 5 years, and a listener always called me every single night. Hey, how's you doing there, bye? And I'm like, oh, hey, buddy, I'm good. What's up? I need to know. I need to hear my favorite song. This man, for the 5 years I was there, was heavily obsessed with Matchbox 20's Unwell. It was
Mm.
his favorite song. And then one day he said, "You want me to bring you some Jake's dinner?" Because I read a story from the internet about how long it takes to prepare the dinner and why it's such a tradition.
Hmm.
And then he's like, "I'll bring it to the station. I'll make it for you. You're going to love it." I'm like, "Okay, sounds good." And I remember he did it. He brought it to the station, called me out. "Hey, I'm outside." Because I used to do the show at night. My show would be from 6 to midnight, Monday to Friday. And he came. I got the food and I just started eating it while he was there. And then he's like, "Good, eh?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's very good." So that's why I asked, is it exclusively a Newfie thing? And now that I remember saying that whole story, yes, it is. Sometimes you just have to talk it out loud. But I remember my counterparts heard the show, was like, "Hey, I wouldn't do that ever again." I'm like, "Why is that?" He could have poisoned your food. But I've always given people the benefit of the doubt until I
Hmm.
have a bad experience. And so far, 34 years, knock on wood, no bad experience.
Beautiful. Oh man, you're certainly inspiring to me. I love doing this, and I can tell. You speaking to the person accusing you of being faking blind. When I first lost all that weight, and I put my first before and after picture up, um, one of the comments was someone's like, "Oh, he's just using duct tape under his clothes, and he's just wearing loose clothes in this picture and then tight clothes in that picture." Meanwhile, my first picture, I have no neck. My neck was like bigger than Hulk Hogan's arms.
Wow.
Just looked like a giant stump. And now I actually have a chin, a bit of a jawline. But yeah, this guy's like, he's holding back his fat with duct tape. This guy, he's faking his weight loss first. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
That's really common, actually. I agree. Because there's a female comedian I often work with. We do shows together, open mics. Her name is Kate Hunter, punchline_princess on Instagram. And the cool thing about Kate Hunter is she started, I don't know if it was 300 pounds, but now she's down to like 190, 180.
Wow.
And she said, "Hey, I just had a human." And she goes on stage. She used to do a lot of her comedy about her weight, but she's slowly morphing to new things she finds funny.
Yeah.
And that's one thing she told us on stage many times. Part of her comedy was posting your before and after photos on the internet. You think it's all glamorous, but a lot of people think you're faking it. There's people out there who think I paid a body double to be the fat lady to be the skinny lady. And she has this great joke about how she's like, "Oh, by the way, according to our younger generations, according to the new ways of life, I was never fat. I was very brave. And my legs were very brave." So now she can bench, I don't know, 270, and she's just made a big difference on her life. And when you ask her, "Why did you get skinny? What was your inspiration?" It turns out her husband had an affair with a more skinnier, attractive person. So when they got a divorce, she said, "I'm going to look good because you screwed up our relationship." So she got angry,
Oh,
angry skinny. But
yeah.
yeah, now she's looking great. She loves it, and she's just an all around great person to be around.
Have to fire me her username and I'll reach out and I'd love to exchange some funny weight loss stories and
Oh
inspire
yeah, for
some people.
sure.
And I'd love to have her on here.
I think that would be fun. I'll let her know. She's very open, as far as I know, to things like this. I'll message her, but also, yeah, again, it's punchline_princess, and that's her on Instagram. And she's just, yeah, she's great. She posts her comedy and she does all that cool stuff.
Well, I've loved having you on here. We're gonna put your main website, your GoFundMe in there. Um, some of these episodes, my biggest one is about 5,000 downloads. So if we can make that happen on this one and get you those glasses, and that'd be awesome. I do have one last question for you before we go. Um, Kind of forewarned you about this one a little bit, but I ask all my guests at the end of every episode. So let's assume you're wearing these glasses. I'll put that out there. 100-meter pigeon carrying contest. How many pigeons do you think you could carry for a full 100 meters and have at the end of the race?
I've never thought of carrying pigeons. Let's see. I have a wingspan of 6 feet. So pigeons, I'll say 22
Oh,
pigeons.
you are the new leader. My of all the
They have to
episodes
be.
I've done, there's a little lady 4 foot nothing from Colombia.
Yeah.
She said she would put double-sided duct tape all over her shirt and just strap the pigeons to herself, and then put them all in her like. So she had some strategy. Her answer was 15.
Oh, wow.
So you at 20 have taken over the number one spot for the pigeon question.
Yeah, I was hoping a punchline of some kind, but that's very interesting because I imagine pigeons are like what this big. So I don't know
Yeah.
how big. You're talking to someone who's never touched a pigeon, so
Okay.
I'm going by this big. I don't know.
No, maybe about half of that. Some of them would fit like right in your palm, just
Oh,
like
perfect. So
little
yeah,
apple.
20. Yeah, you know what? That's still a good answer. Because yeah, when you ask me that, I'm like, I don't even know what pigeons look like, but I imagine they're tiny. They're depicted as tiny creatures in shows, so I'm assuming they're not that big.
So if you took your headphones and folded them together, that's about the size of a pigeon. Most of them, about
Oh wow.
3 to 4 inches and 6 inches long.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was very, very fun. If your audience is ever interested in getting in touch, it's blindguycomedy.com, blind guy comedy on TikTok, and of course, just my classic name, J_R_Bjornson on Instagram. And I'm always open for new followers. I'm always open for new connections. And I'm always here to remind people that you know what? Life may not always be flowers, rainbows, butterflies, but at the end of the day, for a split second, two people fell in love and created you. And even though if those two people are not here today, you were the ultimate opportunist and swam to your mother's egg. 9 months later, here you are. So enjoy life, even if some days you can't do it. Just tell yourself it's going to be another great day. And you know what? Eventually you'll believe it. And if you keep putting yourself out there and talk, I always tell people I don't believe in religion. I don't like to think there's a one main God. I like to think there's a universe. I like to think we are all a part of this big connection. And as long as you keep putting stuff out there and just talk to yourself if you don't want to talk to anybody, and you'll be amazed of what happens.
You know what? I love that. So I have an idea as well with these glasses. Just popped in my head, and I'm just gonna spew it out here now before we end this. Every Sunday on TikTok, 3 o'clock to 5, 6, or 7, depending on how long it goes, our time. I do a live open mic mental health. And so people come up and sing, they play guitar, they share stories. If you're down for it and want to come up with like a 30-minute bit, I would love to have you come on. We'll just have two boxes like this live and just do like a little comedy show.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. Let's talk about it. Let's make it happen. Let's do a little virtual thing because I remember during the dreaded pandemic, I really loved Zoom comedy. At first, I thought this is going to be difficult, but then it wasn't. It was fun. People were laughing, and you always encouraged your audience, don't mute your mic because then I just look like I'm talking to myself.
I love it. Yeah, I did this little show. We've done 16 of them so far, and the average, 20 to 80,000 likes. Sometimes there's been 100 people in there. Sometimes there's 10. So
Yeah.
it's a close-knit little family that's growing, and I'd love to have you come on there and join me some Sunday if you're down for it.
Oh yeah. It would. I would be down.
Perfect. All right, so everybody, check out the links in the description here, and give JR a follow on TikTok or Instagram or any of these links. And if you check his website and see him in your town around,
Oop, there we go.
that's okay. That's Singapore calling already. They're like, we need to talk to him. I don't have this episode aired yet.
For sure. Check out blindguycomedy.com. There's a tab there that's called Support Blind Guy Comedy, and it'll take you to all my social networks.
Perfect. Have yourself an amazing day. You're an inspiration and just so real, and I've loved having you on here.
Oh, thanks. Just being myself.
All right, man.